Welcome back to another episode of Stacking Dennys. I'm Jordan McAbee of RotoBaller. My co-host Nick Giffen of the Action Network. Ryan Blaney takes it at Phoenix for the second race in a row. Gets it on a late restart and pit strategy call by him and a few other cars, as well as a different strategy by Christopher Bell and their team. After a dominating day by Christopher Bell led 176 of the 312 laps. Ryan Blaney also had a great car all day, but had to come from the back twice. Ends up in victory lane, though. Team Penske on top at Phoenix once again. Christopher Bell second. Kyle Larson comes home with a third-place finish after starting second and then remarking on TV after the race that they just suck here always. Ty Gibbs and Denny Hamlin rounding out the top five. We've seen Ty Gibbs be strong here before. He had a good day, especially near the end of that race. Ty Gibbs was strong. Bubba Wallace with another good finish. He ended up sixth. William Byron seventh. Tyler Reddick eighth. Michael McDowell with another short flat track top 10. And Eric Jones rounding out the top 10 after starting 32nd. But the big story, not only from that race being the differing pit strategies there at the end and those doing well that we expected to, but also quite a few incidents for Phoenix. You know, we got to the point where Phoenix was a pretty boring race all the time, and there were quite a few wrecks. There were some pileups. There were several times that cars got airborne while getting wrecked. I don't know if a lot of people noticed that, but there were some hard hits here at Phoenix. And you have to wonder, is Phoenix getting better? Is it the track? Is it the increased horsepower? But Nick, what'd you think of that race?
That was a really good race, honestly.
Yeah.
It was fantastic. There was tires mattered and tire strategy mattered. And, track position was still important, but it wasn't as important as it had been in the past. And I actually ran my flag stuff from this, yesterday's race. So I have the flags data from yesterday's race, including the adjusted version. And one thing the adjusted version does is it adjusts for tire wear. And this one basically had a tire wear component the highest of any Phoenix race we've had. So legitimately the tire wear fall off was higher than it's ever been at Phoenix in the 40 car era. So since 2016 or 2017 in stage era, if you want to do that as the cutoff point. It's the highest the tire wear has ever been at Phoenix. So fantastic from that perspective. And it was a great race, and it came down to which strategy was right. I know, Jordan, obviously we talked about this a little bit, or there were tweets about it, and I wasn't subtweeting you. I was subtweeting the Action Network Discord because there were people in there saying it was a horrible call. And I'm like, I can easily justify the call. And, if the race stays green, Bell probably wins because they restarted with like 18 to go or 19 to go. And then there was another wreck, and then they restarted with like 11 or 12 to go. But if it just stayed the whole 18 or 19 laps green, he probably wins. If one or two fewer drivers takes two tires and instead takes four, and 16 drivers took four tires like Bell. So if his was the only bad strategy, what about the other 15 that took four tires, right? So if one fewer guy or maybe two fewer guys had taken four tires instead of two tires, Bell probably wins, right? There's so many things that go into this that it's just a huge nuance. Plus, it's not win and you're in anymore. It's make the best out of the day that you can, not win and you're in. So yeah, it sucked for Bell that he didn't win, but he got second place, which, if he had taken two tires and Blaney had taken two tires and a bunch of other guys took four, maybe that ends up being the wrong call. I don't know. It's just hard to say because you don't know what the others are going to do. And he was first on the pit road, so everybody has a chance to react to what he's doing. So, if all of a sudden they see him taking four, they can all the guys way back can adjust and take two. So you're kind of in this like lose situation almost in some ways. But so it was just an interesting strategy call from both of them.
Yeah. And that was one point. And obviously like my reaction on Bell's pit crew and decision was very emotional because I only bet on Bell to win, and like seeing him dominate all day and then finish second is the most frustrating thing for a guy that has been dead to me for years. But so, and I don't know how accurate this is. I didn't go back and look at it, but from what I remember and from how TV displayed it, it looked like Blaney was finished pitting before Bell even got to his box, which if Bell's team was watching the broadcast, they would have known that Blaney took two tires and could have audibled it. So yes, Bell was the first one on pit road, but I think they had a chance to know that everyone else was taking, or that there were several other drivers taking 2 tires.
Yeah, but at the same time, he also entered first, so it's a really small difference. So I don't think there's enough to know the time gap there. But my whole point is I think both calls were defensible, and we saw both calls converge to each other anyway. So it just kind of just, either way was fine.
At the end of the day, the 2 best cars finished 1-2. And you could have interchanged
in reverse order.
Yeah.
Because I mean, Blaney even said Bell was the better car in his interview.
Yeah.
I was the second best today. It just happened to work out that way. But like, it's very often that we often see the best car take 4 tires because they're the best car. So if they lose 5 or 6 spots, it's not detrimental than if you're a really bad car that just happened to cycle to the front, and then you take 4 and you go to the back. And all of a sudden, even though you got 4, it's still going to be harder for you to cycle to the front. That's why we see the worst cars gamble on 2 tires and hope they can just keep the position. So again, another defensible call for Bell in that regards. And we saw the same thing last year, right? Denny came in the championship race. Denny came in and got, 4 and the others got 2, or got 2 and the others got 0, or whatever it was. But the difference there is there was less tire wear and fewer laps on that restart. There was so many more laps here. And as I said, this is the highest tire wear Phoenix race of all time. So I don't really think you can use last year's championship decision as a proxy for this one because, so many more laps and much higher tire wear.
Yeah, it's, like you said, so they restarted and then they had that quick caution, which really screwed Bell because one, he did not have a good restart. Plus the caution just wasted laps. But we did see by the end of that race, Bell was catching Blaney. I forget, I'm pulling up the official results here right now to see what the interval was by the end of it. But Bell basically in the last 3 laps cut it from 1 second to the margin of victory was only 0.4 seconds. So he was cutting into it. Now, I believe if that whole last stint would have went green from the initial restart, I think Bell would have at least had a chance to pass him. But with those limited number of laps after that caution, it was kind of, crazy how Bell did get to second. But yeah, like Blaney said, Bell had a great car. Blaney had a great car. He had to go through the field twice. Those 2 were clearly the class of the field here.
Absolutely. And it like I said, it shows a lot in my my flag stuff. So I'm just trying to pull it up here. The flags from that race. Where is it? There it is. And filter it to the most recent race. But I mean, it was so clearly 1 and 2, Bell and Blaney. But I just think it's cool because my adjusted flags is pretty neat. So let me just do a little view, freeze the panes there, and we'll go to raw speed flags. It was Bell 1, Logano 2, Blaney 3, but that's why we have the adjustments, right? Because we know Blaney had to come through the field multiple times, as the comment here alludes to, because of the loose wheels and things like that. But in terms of adjusted flags, it was Bell 1, Blaney 2. Bell 1, a gap down to Blaney 2, and a gap down to Logano, Hamlin, Reddick, Briscoe, kind of in a tier for 3 through whatever it is, 7, or 3 through 6, 3 through 7, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4 of them. Yeah. So 3 through 6. And then a slight tier down to Ty Gibbs in 7th, and then Austin Cindric another tier down in 8th. And then another tier down leads kind of the clusterfuck where William Byron is 9th, along with like Ross and Bubba and Busher, a few of those guys all clustered together for like back half of the top 10.
Yeah,
and I think that makes sense intuitively, right? Like that ordering 100%. Seems about right.
Oh yeah, just watching the race and seeing how it played out and the speed that people had all day, that seems accurate as hell. But there were a few surprises, like William Byron. He was not that good yesterday at all. Finished 7th, but probably didn't have the 7th best car. He had a top 12 car for sure, but SVG wrecked twice, ended up finishing 11th, and before he wrecked, he was looking good on speed. I legitimately think he might be a factor in some oval races this year. I think he is getting to that level. Todd Gilliland finished 10th in stage 2, ended up 12th. Got to give him a shout out there. Great race for that team. Riley Herbst didn't look awful. He finished 18th after starting 22nd. Good race for that team. Another bad race for Briscoe. He got in that wreck, which I wasn't happy to see, but my wallet was happy to see that because I bet Buescher over Briscoe. So that pretty much sealed that. Like you said, Austin Cindric had a great day going. He wrecked, finished 34th. Josh Berry, who, of course, my 36 for 36 pick, he just sucked. He was not good at one of his best tracks. Ended up finishing 32nd. Logano got in that wreck. He led 73 laps, but he ended up finishing 31st. That was your 36 for 36 picks, and neither of us had a great week. You had a better week than I did. Chastain, another one that had a decent amount of speed, not as good as he showed in practice. He ended up finishing 28th. So a lot of issues for a lot of teams in this fourth race of the season.
Yeah. And, I think Keselowski mentioned ahead of the race, like this is the start of the season because the first two were drafting races. Third one was a road course. So like race 4 was like the start of the season. And some guys had some issues and had a bad start of the season, if you will, or continuing the bad start of the season. One thing I did want to go back to is these flags numbers. Guess who did not have a good day? Kyle Larson. Now,
Kyle Larson did not.
He finished better than he should have, or whatever. I actually don't even remember where he finished, but just in terms of speed, third. Yeah, way lucky, like super lucky, because he was around 14th in adjusted speed, and there was a clear tier of 15, right? So I mentioned Byron Chastain, Bubba Buescher, and then Priest, Larson, and Hocevar as well. And then there's a drop to the 16th driver, which is that Gilly, McDowell, John Hunter Nemechek, Josh Berry tier. They were kind of like kicking off the mid back half of the pack. So again, all intuitively makes sense. They all popped into the top 10 at various points or near the top 10. And SVG was right in that group as well. So made a lot of sense. But you mentioned, Chase Briscoe having his incident. I don't know what happened there because, like, we saw smoke out of the right front. It almost was like he locked up and crashed. I don't know if it was a tire issue. And then there was the Noah Gragson issue, which, again, was not a tire issue. That was a brake issue. The brakes overheated and the rotor exploded. We see this at other tracks, too, like Pocono, where it's just a brake failure. And that shattered all over the track and punctured like 3 or 4 other drivers' tires. So we didn't have a tire Armageddon, as some people want to say, because it was really only maybe Briscoe. It was all 3 RCR cars. That was more of a team issue than a tire issue. All 3 RCR cars had tire issues. And then maybe Zilish at the end there, but that fire made me think it was also maybe a brake rotor exploding. So I don't know what exactly was or wasn't tire issues, but we really didn't have that many tire issues when you adjust for the fact that it was mostly just RCR.
And with, like RFK had their tire issues in practice. And then who brought out the last caution, like the final caution of the was it
Austin
Dillon?
Hill. Both of them. I mean, like I said, all 3 RCR cars had tire issues.
Yeah. And that could just be, it could be the tire wear thing too, because, like you said, this is the highest tire wear we've had at Phoenix. Teams are not used to that much tire wear at Phoenix. So it could have been something like that, adjustments just weren't right. So comment here, Reddick, Briscoe, and Gibbs surprised me with the speed they had. I was surprised by Briscoe. But Toyota overall has been very good at Phoenix, especially Ty Gibbs. You remember back to 2 years ago or 3 years ago, whatever year that he was top 5 and led a bunch of laps. Like Gibbs has shown speed here before. By the way, did you see his post-race interview when he kind of threw shade at Gabehart? Or not Gabehart,
I did not.
But
I didn't.
Yeah, people were reading between the lines, and I did too as soon as he said it, basically saying like, we have the right people in place now. We all work together toward like, it was very, very pointed at what he was saying with the whole litigation going on there.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was a good run for Gibbs. I mean, they were talking about the potential for him to win there at the end. Like he was potentially in the conversation. So good run for him. Still hate him, but good run for him.
I'll tell you what, another good result for practice flags. The fast cars were fast and the slow cars were slow for the most part. Obviously there's exceptions like a Denny Hamlin he always can just practice mid-pack and then run up towards the front. But when you look at like who had some decent speed in practice flags, Todd Gilliland was a borderline top 10 in flags and then led off that, like I said, that top half of the second half of the drivers. Larson, Larson, relative to the other elite drivers, did not look good in practice flags and didn't look good in the race. Blaney, Logano, and Bell were the top 3 in practice flags from the elite tier, and they were the top 3 in the race. Austin Cindric was tops in practice flags from Group 1, and he was probably the best Group 1 driver in the race. So, I mean, just another win for practice flags. And, practice was so important at Phoenix. And I think it'll be important this weekend at Vegas, not to jump ahead there, but I've been, like I said, putting a lot of work in this offseason to really get, not just practice flags, but all these other flags metrics and just really have it done efficiently and properly. I think the model's doing really well.
Let's see. What else do we have here? Zilish with another bad finish. He is off to the worst start possible, I think. Let's see here. Oh, Alex Bowman was a late scratch. That was after we recorded last week. Vertigo issues. And I saw a TikTok, and I don't know how accurate this is, but they went back to, do you remember his hard hit at Michigan last year?
Mm-hmm.
Where he said it was the hardest hit of his life. And they were basically saying that after that race, he was so bad, and now this is coming at that this is still potentially an issue from that concussion. And honestly, like the way, how many NFL players are taking concussions so much more seriously? How many NASCAR drivers have? I mean, Dale Jr. retired because of concussions.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Kane.
Kane's wasn't concussions, but more like, I don't know. He experienced some like dehydration issues and kind of similar vertigo stuff. I don't know if it was from concussions, but yeah, I mean, he ended up retiring early as well from some weird issue.
Yeah, I thought Kane stemmed from that one interview that you knew he was concussed after the wreck.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think so. That's just my memory, but no, that was just what the whole video was saying. I'm like, it honestly wouldn't be surprising if these continued, because I mean, it's not like we haven't heard that this next gen car isn't very forgiving when it comes to these wrecks.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it could stem from, we know Alex Bowman has had, health issues in terms of accidents, and it absolutely could stem from that. I mean, there's no way to know for sure, but it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. And, we're all obviously just wishing him the best because that sucks, but he obviously hasn't looked himself to start the season in general. We expected him to be much better at COTA than he was, and he ended up having to quit essentially the COTA race because he wasn't feeling good. And he didn't look amazing in the drafting races. And like you said, the end of last year, he definitely fell off compared to the beginning. Last year, at the beginning of the season, he was one of the most consistent drivers towards the front half of the field. So it absolutely could still be lingering stuff. And, obviously we wish him well. Anthony Alfredo replaced him. And I think there was a lot of speculation around what Anthony Alfredo would do. And my comp was what Corey LaJoie did when he filled in for Chase Elliott. And that's pretty much what we saw from Alfredo, ran towards the back portion of the field. I think LaJoie was like 30th in speed, 27th in average running position, and finished 21st. And, we saw relatively similar out of Alfredo. Obviously got caught in that wreck, which wasn't his fault. But in terms of like adjusted practice flags, I mean, he was in the bottom 5 or 6. Yeah, he was in the bottom 5 in terms of adjusted, not practice, but race flags. So I think that's kind of in line with those LaJoie expectations.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Daniel Suarez had a good race going there, qualified 4th, finished 7th in stage 1, but he ended up 30th. Bad finish for him. But any other takeaways you have from this Phoenix race?
I think, mostly it was the real story was the dominance of those two drivers and the strategy at the end. But Chevy, not great so far to start the season. They weren't where they thought they would be, aside from, like SVG at COTA. They didn't, I mean, drafting races are drafting races, but if we talk like the preseason exhibition at Bowman Gray, they had the really big fall off. You remember Larson and Byron each kind of had the lead at the beginning of the clash, and they both just kind of fell backward on that first stint. So maybe some issues for Chevy to start the season. I don't know if it's a short flat thing or this, higher horsepower and lower downforce. I don't know if it'd be different from Vegas, but definitely some concerning signs from Chevy with this new body so far.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting going here to Vegas this weekend because I think this is going to be a real tell because this has been Larson's track. Larson's the favorite. It's nobody's surprised that Larson's the favorite. Byron has been great here over the past couple years. So if they come out and they're struggling this weekend, it's going to be a real tell. But here's a good comment here. 2311 keeps running toward the front of these races. Is it possible they hit on something over the offseason with how they struggled last week or last season? And, like you look at, obviously Tyler Reddick won the first 3 races. He finished 8th at Phoenix. Even Bubba Wallace, though, 10th at Daytona, 8th at Atlanta, 11th at Coda, which is a great run for him on a road course. And then Phoenix, he started 28th, but he still finished 6th. Great run for him. Great speed out of those 2311 cars. I would say just judging by these first 4 races this season, and, obviously these aren't the best 4 races to judge. They have definitely improved over last season. And I don't know if they hit on something or what, if they're just, they're in year 4 now of organization, like maybe they're just getting there, but 2311 is definitely showing a bunch of speed.
Yeah,
even Herbst. I mean, Herbst has been improved.
Yep. No, absolutely. They all have been improved. I believe this is year 5, right? Didn't they start in 2022? So 2, 3, 4, 5, and now this is 2026. Yeah, this is going into year 5. Yep. So yeah, 4 complete years going into year 5. I think some of it is just Daytona Atlanta. A little bit of luck there, obviously involved, especially with Reddick having a torn fender and still winning a race. Just some luck there. I think Coda, Reddick looked amazing, and Bubba came home 11th, probably finished better than his speed. But at Phoenix, I mean, those two were really good cars. But again, Phoenix is a pretty good track for both of them as well. Not amazing, but pretty good. So I don't know if they necessarily hit on something. I think it's just natural improvement as an organization, natural working closer with JGR, especially probably after all this offseason stuff, lawsuit stuff. And I don't know. It's really hard to tell after one oval race and one road course where Reddick's amazing anyway, and then 2 kind of more luck-based races. It's hard to say, but yeah, I mean, the signs are in the right direction for sure.
Yeah, no, this is actually their 6th year. So Bubba did a full year in 2021 with 2311. Yeah. And then, Spire's also been impressive to start the year, which, I know some people are surprised at that. I'm really not, though. Just the amount of money that's behind that organization. I think they have talented drivers. I think Spire's going to keep getting better.
I agree. And I mean, the massive money investment in it, right? Like, with TWG and the connection to Andretti and Cadillac F1, that's a whole empire, the TWG empire. We think of Cadillac and F1, Andretti and IndyCar, and Spire and NASCAR as separate entities, and they are, but they're all under the TWG umbrella. They're all teammates, if you will. And I saw Instagrams this past weekend, and I hate to say it, but of Kyle Kirkwood, hanging out with Carson Hocevar. But my favorite driver hanging out with my least favorite driver. But that was part of the whole teammates thing. They are teammates. They're just not in the same series, right? So it's kind of like the Penske IndyCar drivers and the Penske NASCAR drivers. They're teammates. They just don't race in the same series, but people think of them more as teammates because they're all Penske. Well, this is all TWG. They just have different names. It's kind of like Action Network. We're part of Better Collective, but we have Action Network. We have Fantasy Labs. We have Roto Grinders. So we're all teammates. We just have different names within our teams. You know what I mean? In our sub teams. Yeah. So it's the same kind of thing there. But I mean, obviously there's massive investment into Spire from TWG as a whole.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on for sure. Whether Spire will be able to get to victory lane this year or not.
Shout outs, by the way, to Kyle Kirkwood for finishing 2nd in that race. Only needed a few less laps and he would have won the race. He was leading with 8 or 9 to go. But just again, tire strategy. Joseph Newgarden had the fresh tires and Kyle Kirkwood did not. And it mattered at Phoenix. which is cool to see. It kind of played out in both races. Now the difference is, Joseph was among the best cars in that race. I wouldn't say the best, but among the best. And he took 4 and won because it stayed green the whole way to the end. Bell took 4 and it didn't stay green the whole way to the end. So like, that's almost a direct comparison where you see like, okay, it did work out on a different call. And Kyle was on the not inferior, right? He was like a 6th place car the whole race. But the idea is Kirkwood stayed out, as did some others, and had older tires, and he was banking on the track position game, and it didn't work out. So it's almost directly comparable to this Bell situation. It just happened to be one stayed green longer than the other. And, if a caution had come out with 10 or 11 to go, Kyle Kirkwood probably wins that race. But it didn't happen. So, it's really cool how NASCAR and IndyCar kind of had analogous situations there late in their races.
Absolutely. I didn't get a chance to watch the IndyCar race, but I'll take your word for it that it was a good one. I did see that.
It was a banger of a race. Absolute banger of a race. One of the best races in years. And I say that about a lot of IndyCar races, but I mean, they just keep up in the game, and Phoenix and the tire wear and all that stuff was really good. And they had the NASCAR audience. So I'll be curious to see TV numbers for it, but just in the stands, I mean, that might've been the most packed IndyCar race I've seen in the stands in a long time, outside of the Indy 500, obviously, and outside of the Long Beach Grand Prix, which is its own event. But like just for a standalone oval race, I shouldn't say standalone, but because it was paired with NASCAR, but just for an IndyCar oval race that isn't the 500, might have been the most packed I've ever seen it. So that was awesome to see. Kyle finished second. He's second in the standings. He has a 4th and a 2nd place finish this year. On one of only 2 drivers with 2 top 5s, but Joseph Newgarden has a 1st and a 6th. So that's that first place. Those extra points for finishing first, just like in NASCAR, are what has him leading the standings by 5 over Kyle Kirkwood. But we're heading to Arlington this weekend for IndyCar street race where Kyle Kirkwood shines. There's a legitimate chance Kyle Kirkwood is finally, for the first time in his career, the championship leader coming out of this weekend. So
what odds do we need to get to bet Kirkwood this week?
I don't know. It's a brand new event, but it's a street race. So, I mean, anything longer than 6 or 7, I think is, if you see an 8 there, I think it's an auto. Just bet Kirkwood 8-1. Boom. Do it.
There we go.
Don't question it.
All right. I'll be waiting for those odds to drop. But you mentioned IndyCar and top 5s. Here's a question for you. There are 3 Cup Series drivers with multiple top 5s this year. Who are they?
That is a great question. With multiple top 5s. Tyler Reddick.
Yep. Yeah, that's the obvious one.
I'll
give you a hint. They're all Toyota.
Bubba Wallace.
Nope.
No. Okay. It's not Riley Herbst. I know that.
Actually, Bubba has 0 top 5s this year.
That's true. It's not. I don't think it is. Well, it's got to be Christopher Bell, right?
Yep, Christopher Bell.
I don't think it's Briscoe. Is it Gibbs?
Ty Gibbs.
Yep, because of Coda and then Phoenix.
Yep. But that gets us right to the NASCAR Cup Series point standings after race number 4. Tyler Reddick, obviously the leader by 60 points over Ryan Blaney. Bubba Wallace in 3rd, Chase Elliott in 4th, and SVG remains in 5th. Christopher Bell jumps up 18 spots to 6th. Joey Logano, Michael McDowell, Chris Buescher, Kyle Larson rounding out the top 10. We're starting to see all the shifts, though. Like we mentioned after the first couple races, there was a bunch of guys that were in worrisome spots, quote unquote. If you're one of those people that watch points as they run in week 2, people in worrisome spots. But we're getting the good guys, the Denny Hamlins, the Bells, who, like I said, jumped 18 spots this week. Hamlin jumped 11 spots this week in the point standings. It's starting to even out to where it should be. But looking, down further, you mentioned Chase Briscoe. Briscoe, 33rd in points, 178 points behind the leader of Reddick. Connor Zilisch, as bad as the season he's having, he only has 2 less points than Chase Briscoe. Cody Ware has more points through 4 races than Chase Briscoe, which is,
I'll tell you what, Connor Zilisch did not impress this past weekend. I know obviously there was multiple tire issues for him. I think one was, of course, hitting the debris, and then one late at the end, which I thought might have been a rotor. But just in general, his speed was not there. He was 3rd worst in race flags, adjusted race flags.
Yeah, I think it's going to take him a while on the normal tracks to be good. I do think road course races are where he's definitely going to shine, though.
For sure. I was just surprised because he was decent in practice flags.
Yeah.
In the race, he was not good.
For sure. Let's see here.
The only drivers below him in adjusted speed were Cole Custer and Cody Ware. And if we do raw speed without the tire and traffic adjustments, he was 6th worst, with the only ones behind him, Custer, Ware, as well as Kyle Busch, Gregson, and Austin Hill. That's not good. Yikes.
That's not good at all.
It's also not good for Kyle Busch.
Oh, no. Let's see here. But like I said, a lot of movers and shakers with these points so early in the season. Do you have any takeaways from what we're looking at so far?
As far as the points, I mean, yeah, I thought it was interesting that it definitely kind of went more toward where things should be, quote unquote should. But I think the interesting thing is still some of the guys hanging out in or around that top 16. SVG, great race for him at Phoenix, all things considered, despite some incidents. Michael McDowell in 8th in the standings. AJ Allmendinger 13th in the standings, and right outside the cut line is Daniel Suarez, who had a decent race going until he got caught up in a few incidents, none of which were his fault. So yeah, I think very interesting there, because you wouldn't peg, I think, Suarez, Allmendinger, McDowell, and SVG, only SVG because of the road courses, but you wouldn't peg those guys normally to be in the top 16 drivers. But you look who's outside of them. I mean, who would you put in there? Ross Chastain, probably, for sure. Chase Briscoe, for sure. A healthy Alex Bowman, for sure. So that's 3, and then we'd need one more. But it's like, is it Cindric? Is it, Kyle Busch? Is it Preece? That's where it gets really murky. So there's only about like 15 drivers that you would think are for sure without incidents, just based off like expectation. There's like a top 15, and then there's like and even Keselowski, you can't really say is confidently in that top 15, even though he's sitting 16th in points right now. And like Hosvar and Busch could be borderline, but I think you probably put them in the top 15. So yeah, it's really interesting. I think the cut line is going to be pretty tight, which is what we want. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, I looking at the standings, Keselowski's obviously off to a much better start than they were last season. I'd throw Preece in there, but like you said, Chastain, yeah, you gotta throw him in there, as well as Briscoe. But other than that, a lot of these guys are fringe that could go one good streak or one bad streak away from being in or out. But as again, I'm going to keep harping on this SVG. I'm very curious to see. He's sitting 5th in points after 4 races. I'm curious to see how he does this weekend, because if you remember back to last year, Kansas, the sister track of Vegas, he finished 10th last year, and then he had a good run going in the fall Vegas race before wrecking. Started 13th, he ended up finishing 33rd, but he was decent in that race. So I'm going to keep my eye on SVG. I want to see that guy do good.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's certainly high expectations now that we've seen him perform at this race, right? At Phoenix, which was one of his worst tracks last year. I think they said Phoenix and Bristol were his 2 worst oval tracks last year, or I guess 2 worst tracks in general. So, if he's running that well, kind of a mid-pack car overall, had some good, had some bad, but mid-pack overall and finishing 11th, that's a massive improvement from where he was this time last year. And even towards it's kind of right around where he was towards the very end of last year on the oval. So definite improvement. We'll have to see if it plateaus or if it continues to improve even more, which would be interesting for sure. Or if maybe he's just had a really crazy run of form and it falls back to where it has been, which I think is probably the least likely option, but it's still a work in progress, I would say, for SVG.
What's interesting to me, though, is like you could also say that it's the organization improving, but I don't feel like Chastain, like I feel like Chastain has plateaued, whereas SVG just keeps getting better. So I'm not sure it's an organizational thing. I think SVG is just getting better.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly possible. I think there's a lot of ways this could, play out just in terms of how SVG is, Trackhouse is. I mean, we saw Zilich just have a terrible race, and I think a lot of it is just experience. We saw SVG have terrible races early in his career. So oval races, so maybe it really is an experience thing, because if we think it's a Trackhouse thing, like Ross kind of just ran around where he usually runs at Phoenix, right? I mean, he was just kind of that back half of the top 10. And sometimes we've seen him be a dominant car at Phoenix in the past. So I don't know if it's necessarily Trackhouse improving on ovals as much as it's SVG improving in experience.
Yeah, and that was kind of the frustrating thing with Chastain, was because he practiced a lot better than in the race. Just he was his normal self. But that's also a lot of times what happens with Chastain. He's one of those that not overdoes it, but outperforms in qualifying for the most part.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much more to say. I think it's an SVG thing where he's improving, because we saw Zilich just be dreadful this weekend. Obviously, we know Zilich is going to be great on the road courses. I mean, he was a top 4 car at COTA for sure, maybe even better. It's hard to say with how he had to come through traffic 800 times. But I think Vegas will be another nice telltale. Has SVG performed on these big intermediates? And Connor Zilich, how will he do on his second big intermediate? He had a great race at Charlotte last year because he ran the 600. But a lot of that wasn't so much speed as in just surviving through a 600-mile race, and he still only finished 23rd. So, we'll have to see how it's still a work in progress. And I think experience plays a large factor in both SVG and Zilich's, current speed form on ovals.
Okay. Anything left on the standings for you as we're still getting this thing shaken out?
I don't know. I would say not really on the standing sides. I mean, I think we all know Tyler Reddick's running away with it. Stage points, it's Blaney and Bubba still 1 and 2, just like they were last week. I think they were tied for first last week. Now they're 1 and 2. Stage points are big. Stage points are going to continue to be big, and we'll see as the year progresses which drivers in road course races stage point race, right? Like we saw Ty Gibbs already in COTA stage point racing, Bubba Wallace stages racing points, even as early as the first road course race of the season. So I think that's something to keep an eye on, but we only have 4 road course races this year, none in the playoffs. But it'll be interesting to see how that takes place in the playoffs as well. How do you prioritize stage points in the playoffs themselves with only a 10 race? We say only, which is a lot longer than the 3 or the 1 race splits we had in the playoffs last year, but still they could be a massive priority even in the playoffs.
For sure. But we have a lot of races before the playoffs, and the first one coming up as we head on to the playoffs is Las Vegas this weekend with the Pennzoil 400. Last year saw Josh Berry win this race in a somewhat kind of crazy race. Saw a lot of different leaders. Saw Kyle Larson lead the most laps of 61. Cindric led 47. Logano led 40. Reddick led 34. Bubba Wallace 20. We saw a lot of leaders in that first race at Las Vegas last year. In the fall, we saw Denny Hamlin win from the pole, even though he only won 9 laps. Kyle Larson led most of the laps, 129 of the 267. Briscoe and Byron are also up there. Briscoe led 57. Byron led 55. Now we see a lot of of guys that we know are going to be good at Vegas, be fast, but we also over the last couple of years have seen a lot of variance and get some surprise finishers up there. Kyle Larson, the favorite heading into the race weekend, firmly the favorite at all sports books so far. Do you think that Larson should definitely be the favorite from what we've seen with Hendrick Motorsports so far this season?
I mean, yes, right? Like I look at what my model says coming into this. It's hard to kind of adjust for the fact that we've only seen 1 oval race, and it maybe 2 if you count the Clash, and they were both on this intermediate package. But like Larson is so clearly number one in
Yes.
like, if you want to, whatever you want to call it. Like if we just look at my Bayesian speed rating for ovals, large ovals, he's number one. If we look at just for Vegas, right? So if I go to track version, he's even more number one, and Reddick's number two. But he's even more number one relative to just saying all the intermediates. So yeah, I think he clearly should be number one. The thing is, we can't be too confident in that because we don't know how this new Chevy body is going to fare, given it didn't fare amazing. You know what I mean? It didn't fare amazing at Phoenix.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. You know, Larson definitely should be number one. He's just so good here, and he's been so good here all the time. I mean,
yeah,
just it's a constant. And you know, you look at the last 6 races here. I know you're not a big fan of driver rating, but it's something easy for me to grab right here. Kyle Larson is head and shoulders above everybody else. Average driver rating over the last 6 races here, 128.7. Next best is his teammate William Byron at 113. There's only 3 drivers over 100. So Larson's almost at 130, Byron's at 113, and Bell is at 101.7. So Larson is just flat out better than everybody else. He's led over 100 laps in 3 of the last 5 here, and the other 2 races in that span, he's led 61 and 1. So just like he's amazing here. It's almost surprising that he only has 3 wins, but he does have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 podium finishes for him here at Las Vegas. So I don't think there's any question that Larson should be the favorite. Now, obviously, if practice, you know, if Hendrick doesn't look amazing in practice, you know, there could be a argument for other people, but going into the race weekend blind with not seeing anything, I think Larson's definitely the favorite. Now, what's interesting is if you remember back to the first spring race, do you remember who had a great car and ended up, I think he had to come through the field twice and then got wrecked halfway through?
No, I don't.
I know you had a bet on him. It was Ryan Blaney, who, like, as we talked about last week, one of the best on long run speed. Now he opened up at 11-1 on BetMGM, and I felt like I had to take that. I can see Blaney going back to back, so I did hit Blaney 11-1 to win already.
Makes sense. I don't have anything to argue that, but I mean, I think Kyle Larson easily should be the favorite. I think from there, I mean, in my data, probably William Byron and then Ryan Blaney, 2 and 3 in whatever order. But I think it's beyond that is where it gets interesting. And so, you know, I think the fact that, like you said, Blaney is, what was it, 10-1 or something?
11-1 at MGM.
11-1, and I have him like second or third, I think is probably some solid value there. And I will say it also depends on what you're looking at. Like what are you looking at? Obviously, I'm looking at a model, but if you look at, let's say, type 1 track type speed rating, you know, Blaney's only 6th. If we look at track specific, so I was saying type meaning all the large intermediates. If we look at specifically Vegas, he's 9th, which I know it sounds crazy, but I mean, Larson, Reddick, Byron, Bell, Bowman, Hamlin, and then Logano, and Busch are all under a blanket for that next spot. Like, the speed itself doesn't quite justify it, I would say, but he also has some amazing, you know, what I would call like ancillary factors, like he finishes better than he runs kind of stuff, or he just gets more out of his equipment than other drivers. And that some of that comes through, like, instead of just flags, like lap by lap speed, some of that comes through loop data, like you said, like closing stuff. So I think that's part of it as well. And that all goes into my model. I'm not saying it's only Bayesian flags, but like just in terms of pure speed at Vegas or at intermediates, he's not a top 3 driver, but in my model, he's still a top 3 driver because of the ancillary factors.
Yeah, and you know, there are several drivers that have had success here at Vegas. Not as many, like Larson is pretty consistently fast here at Vegas. Bell has been consistently not fast, but good over these last in the next gen era. But when you look at all races at Las Vegas, I mean, Joey Logano's a 4-time winner here. Brad Keselowski has 3 wins here. Larson has 3 wins here. Denny Hamlin has 2. Obviously, Josh Berry won last season. Alex Bowman has a win here. Byron has a win here. Kyle Busch has won here. So we've seen several drivers get to victory lane here. And as far as overall career average finish at Las Vegas, it's Kyle Larson number 1 at 9.0. Joey Logano's right behind him at 9.6.
Yep, makes sense. And like I said, Joey Logano's in that next tier there just in terms of speed. But one driver that really pops out to me is Chris Buescher. I don't know what his odds are at BetMGM, but like I said, he's in that Logano Blaney tier. That's pretty good to me, and I'm sure he has longer odds than Ryan Blaney in terms of speed. Now, obviously, in terms of like finishing and all that stuff, it's not been quite as strong for him as it is been for like a Blaney. But 30-1's pretty intriguing on me, for me on Chris Buescher. I think we all remember the Kansas finish he's had, where he was really close to win, and Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's some signal here for Chris Buescher at Las Vegas as well.
Mm-hmm. And also, I mean, I think you have to consider Bubba Wallace here as well. When we talk about Kansas being the sister track of Vegas, 2311's been great outside of last year at Kansas. Here at Vegas itself, Bubba has a 4th place finish back in 2023. He finished 4th in both stages here in this spring race last season. I think he ended up wrecking or something happened because he finished 28th, but he did lead 20 laps. So I think Bubba's another one of those guys, you were talking about in that tier that, what I'm trying to say here is I think there are a lot of guys that could win this race. I think Larson is definitely the favorite. And I think Larson, if he has his normal race, he's going to lead a bunch of laps. But as far as like winning Vegas, it is wide open, in my opinion.
I agree. And I think the whole Chevy thing makes it even more wide open. Because normally we'd say Larson's probably a pretty heavy favorite, but is he? Now, it could be that the Chevys were built for this, kind of like the Fords did amazing in super speedways when the new body rolled out. Maybe the Chevys are built for this and the advantage will be even bigger. But you know what will tell us that is practice.
Yep, exactly.
Practice will tell us.
And gosh, could you imagine Larson with an even bigger advantage at Las Vegas? He might lead it from start to finish.
Yeah, exactly.
We talk about this every time though when we come to Vegas, and it's the tire wear. As every single year this track gets more and more degraded, and we see more tire wear. Excuse me, and I think that's another reason why I liked betting on Blaney, is because I think they have the best long run package, especially with tire wear in the series. So I'm big on Blaney this week, obviously, but like I'm not ignoring the fact that Kyle Larson, Tyler Reddick. I think Tyler Reddick can easily win. I tweeted this out 2 weeks ago, and I think we talked about it on the episode last week. I think Tyler Reddick is legitimately going to be a factor in this race. Denny Hamlin is always good here. William Byron always good here. Christopher Bell, even Ross Chastain. He might not have the speed overall, and he's not dominating or being up front as much as these other guys, but finish wise, he's been one of the most consistent here at Las Vegas. Outside of 23rd last fall, he had 4 straight finishes, a 7th or better here. Before that, the 3 races before that, 12th, 2nd, and 3rd. Like, he has had some really good races here at Las Vegas. So you know what? If he gets some speed too, and again, another Chevy, Chastain could be a contender here.
Absolutely. And it's going to be interesting I think Chastain's a really interesting one because it's there at Vegas, but it's there in flashes. And like, he was not good in the most recent Vegas race, but it all comes down to, what do you do for me now? So it's tough to say because that Vegas race in the playoffs is like the most heavily weighed in a recency weighted thing, and he just wasn't that good. So I don't know. At least in the most recent trip to Vegas, Ross was not good, but he also has had flashes of being a top 5 car, or even a race winning car, or near race winning car in some cases.
Mm-hmm. This is a comment from earlier discussing Las Vegas. Interested to think what you think regarding Bubba Wallace this week. We talked about him a little bit, but thoughts on Carson Hocevar, who In the spring race last year, finished 9th and 5th in the 2 stages, ended up finishing 30th. I think he got involved in that Blaney wreck. Also finished 10th in the stage, or the second stage in the fall race. Does not have any great finishes here. Best finish of 15th came in 2024. But Hocevar is one of those guys, you look at, they're not super comparable, but Charlotte last year, Hocevar was legitimately could have won the Coke 600 last year. It would not surprise me at all to see him be very fast here at Vegas this weekend, especially you remember who won the pole in this race last year.
Yeah. I mean, remember Spyro was winning poles left and right last year at the start of the season, it seemed like. And they seem to have taken a step forward so far this year. Now, do I have Carson Hocevar among the absolute elite drivers here? Absolutely not. But I have him in a tier with guys like Chase Elliott, Brad Keselowski, Ty Gibbs, Bubba Wallace. So that's a pretty solid tier to be in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's the track version. If I look at like large ovals, let me see if that changes. Yeah, he actually moves up a little bit. Still, it's in that same tier, right? It's Wallace, Keselowski, Gibbs, Hocevar, Ross Chastain, Joey Logano, but that's a solid tier to be in for large ovals in general. Those guys have race winning potential at large ovals, intermediates, right? These are your 25 to 30 to 1 drivers usually, sometimes as low as like 15, like with Logano maybe, or sometimes as long as 30 or 40. But you get the idea. That's the tier he should be in at this point in his career, even in a Spire car.
Mm-hmm. Jumping around here, I'm curious about your thoughts on this guy because he does not have a good record here at Las Vegas. He has not been off to that hot of a start this season, but he did finish 4th here last fall. He finished 4th here in 2022. We know they're going to have speed. Chase Briscoe is one that I could see being somewhat of a sleeper. Like, obviously, Briscoe's not going to be a sleeper any week with how that team performed last year. We saw that they can win anywhere, but Briscoe's performance in the fall race last year, obviously he was a playoff contender. So that kind of added maybe a little bit of boost to it, but that was a great race from that team. They finished 3rd in stage 1, 5th in stage 2, finished 4th at the end of the race, led 57 laps. Briscoe is one of those guys that does not have a good record here at Vegas. Like over the last 6 races, 4 finishes of 21st or worse, but he could end up top 5 this weekend.
Yep. Briscoe's a tough one. Again, when he was with Stuart Haas, and Stuart Haas was just terrible on the large ovals, but he was even worse. He was like in the 30s.
Oh yeah,
in speed. So that always has me concerned with Briscoe at these like mile and a halfs. Like he's never really shown to me overall that he is a guy that is going to be dominant at this track type. It doesn't mean he can't run toward the front, but I mean, looking at his results last year, I mean,
it's
Vegas,
certainly nothing on a
17th,
consistent basis.
Yeah, Kansas 4th, which is, I'm just looking at finishes because that's what I have immediately in front of me. Michigan 23rd, Charlotte 3rd. Like Charlotte feels like the best track. I always feel like he's really good at Charlotte and Texas, which are lower wear, and at the medium or higher wear, he isn't quite as good. Although he's been good at Kansas, and obviously he's great in Vegas too last year. So there's conflicting data around him, I would say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's one of those, and he's probably going to look good in practice. He's probably going to qualify well, but then again, he's not going to have a good qualifying draw, so he could end up, starting further back. But he is one of those guys that just does not have a good record here at Vegas, but could definitely pull off a good finish.
Yeah, I mean, again, just going back to that most recent one, he finished 4th. So, and he finished 4th in 2022 with Stuart Haas. I think that was the year before they just went to shit in a trash can, or maybe it was 2021, but excuse me. But you get the idea. It was 2023 where they were just dog shit, Briscoe, especially at these intermediates. But he does have 2 4th place finishes at Vegas in his career. So it's certainly possible for him. I think the other thing I want to look at with Briscoe is, right now I have it filtered to what was, Phoenix. Let me filter it to let me just filter it to like Kansas and Vegas, because I think that's we all say, Kansas and Vegas are the 2 best comps to each other. So let me look at those. Let me look at Chase Briscoe for driver, because you got me curious now, because that most recent one was good, but I always wonder, there's a difference between finishing 4th and running 4th, right?
For sure.
I'm just curious, like, what his speed was. All right, so his adjusted speed in Vegas 2 and in Kansas 2 were really good. They were both in percentile, in that 70th plus percentile. But before that, which is what really drags him down, Kansas 1 and Vegas 1 were mid-pack or worse. And then obviously with Stewart-Haas Racing, it gets discounted because it was Stewart-Haas Racing, but he was in the bottom 30th percentile in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of the 9 races. In the 9th, he was only in the 46th percentile. Right. So it's not like you can't just throw that out. Now it does adjust for the team. So it's not going to say, well, those were what he would be with JGR. He would get a big boost for being in JGR, but that still puts him like mid-pack instead of 30th percentile. And mid-pack in a JGR car isn't great. So a lot of his data prior to the 2 most recent races is mid-pack. So it's like, okay, do you weigh the 2 most races the most? Yes, but you don't just throw out the other races, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the tough part. And when we go back, like I said, last Vegas race, there were a lot of issues in last Las Vegas race, and that just makes it so much more difficult to fully grasp, what kind of cars these people have. Because, like I said, Blaney was coming through the field twice. He was one of the strongest cars. I remember the race well because you were live betting him as well when he was coming up through the field.
Yep.
Because his car was so fast before he got caught up in that wreck. But that just happens at places like Vegas. But one guy that I'm curious, another one that just does not seem to have the finishes here that his teammates do. We talked about Kyle Larson, how good he is here. Talked about William Byron. Byron always has speed here. Alex Bowman always finishes top 10 here at Las Vegas. But Chase Elliott, last 6 races, 1 top 10. It was a 10th place finish last spring. Just has not been good. And even in his career in Las Vegas, he has not been that good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 single-digit finishes over 17 career starts at Las Vegas. Just does not quite. He had the speed up until about 2021, right before the next gen came out. In this next gen era, he has not had the speed. And that's just a weird one because of how good Hendrick Motorsports is here. Plus, we've seen Chase Elliott be good at Kansas. We've seen Chase Elliott be good at these other mile and a halves.
Yeah. And I mean, Chase Elliott doesn't pop in my model. He ranks,
yeah, like you said, I think you said he was in that tier of like we're throwing Carson Hocevar in with him, which is crazy to think about.
Absolutely, yeah. It's in that tier, and it's just a matter of like where in that tier. And it's so tough to say because Chase Elliott has some good things about him where he is just Mr. Consistency. So that reduces his variance. So even though he might only be a 10th place car, he'll still finish around 10th or sometimes even better just through attrition, right? Because he has a really low expected major incident rate, let's say.
Or a little bit worse when Alan Gustafson decides to just go off fucking kilter.
Sure. But yeah, he's another tough one to peg because he'll usually finish around his speed. And aside from random strategy things, he'll usually finish right around his speed. Maybe a little bit better just because he's so consistent and tends not to get involved in incidents that like he doesn't create his own incidents for the most part. He's only usually involved because other people fuck up or because he has a mechanical or something like that.
Yeah. I think, like I said, I think this race is wide open. I can make an argument for a lot of people here at Las Vegas as far as winning and even just top 10. I think it's going to be. I personally always enjoy Las Vegas races. Outside of when Joey Logano wins them, and it's so often that the race is sponsored by Pennzoil, and Joey Logano is racing the Pennzoil car, and he ends up fucking winning it. But this week is the Pennzoil 400, and he is in the Pennzoil Ultra Platinum car. So something to keep in mind there. I might pick him to win this week. I don't know. But overall, yeah, I don't know who's going to win. I think there's a lot of people on the table. But do you have any sleepers this week for Las Vegas? I have a feeling of one driver you might really like this week.
I mean, I already said Buescher, right?
I'm talking sleepers.
Oh, like deep sleepers.
Yeah.
Um,
I know you're going to go there. You'll get there if I give you time.
I mean,
maybe not to win.
It's 2 drivers, right? And they're on the same team, right?
Yes. Yep. we're there. I told you you'd get there.
Zane and Noah.
Zane and Noah. There we go. I have Noah's stats pulled up right in front of me. 3 finishes, 13th or better, and 6 starts here.
I was gonna say, and Zane Smith. Like, I have them pretty much neck and neck with each other.
I don't talk about Zane, but
oh, yeah, he's dead to you. But you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I can understand that for sure.
Yeah. No, I think this track type is especially, it just plays into Noah's hands, and he's had such a rough start once again to the season that I think a lot of people are going to be off of him. Like, I'm very curious to see where FanDuel opens up his top 10 odds this week, because I have a feeling I'm going to bet it immediately.
Yeah, I can't argue with that at all. And you know, I've been looking at a lot of those same things for Zane that I've been looking at for other drivers, or not Zane. We can look at the same thing for Noah and Zane that we've been looking at for other drivers, which is their essentially their Bayesian rating coming in. And Zane and Noah rank for track 21st and 22nd, which is not great, but it's right there with Chase Briscoe and Austin Cindric and Kyle Busch, right? It's right after those guys. So they're right after that, like, mid upper pack tier, or that mid pack tier. They're like the first of it was kind of like we talked about how John Hunter Nemechek and Todd Gillen were the first of the next, like the bottom half of the drivers at Phoenix this past weekend. They're the first of the bottom half of the drivers in terms of Vegas rating, Bayesian Vegas rating. And if I go to type instead of just Vegas, so if I go to, like I said, all ovals, large ovals, intermediates, Noah is, oh wow, Noah is 23rd and Zane is 18th. So yeah, I mean, both of them very solid in that. They should have an expectation around 20th, right? Like right around dead mid pack. But the thing is, if you're right around dead mid pack, sometimes you're going to be better than that. And some guys who are a little better than you are sometimes going to be worse than that. So variance can naturally carry them up into that top 15 or even top 10.
And you know, let's be honest here, like mid pack is kind of the expectation for Zane Smith right now, but for Noah, mid pack is a good race.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% right. Like, we expect Zane to be maybe like of the mid pack, maybe on the, like, if you break everything into thirds, maybe in the middle to lower side of that middle third. But Noah, we fully expect to be firmly in that bottom third. But here we're expecting him to be mid pack essentially.
Yeah. And it's the upside that he has this weekend. It's this track type suits him very well. And obviously it's his home track. Earlier comment from here, Byron 10-1 I like, but waiting to see if we get longer on FanDuel. 10-1, yeah, like, it caught my eye a little bit, but like, I don't know why. I'm not big on Byron this week. And I know I should be. I was in this race last season. He ran second like all fucking day. But I'm just not there on Byron. I like I said, I saw 10-1 and I'm like, if I had to bet it, I probably would, but not quite enough. I don't know if FanDuel will open up any longer though. I feel like FanDuel's gonna be like, typically I feel like we don't get longer odds on some drivers with FanDuel, and I feel like Byron's one of those guys.
I mean, it's pretty hard to pass on Byron at 10-1. Not gonna lie, he's, like I said, he and Blaney are neck and neck 2-3 in my model, and we're getting double digits on both of them. It's just so hard to bet so early in the week with some of these unknowns. I think the only one I really want to bet is Buescher right now, but I don't really want to bet as outright. I would maybe probably more wait for like a top 5 on him. But I mean, the guy that's popping in my model is Buescher, and honestly Bowman, but there's a lot of red flags there, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's tough to say. If I were to make one bet right now, I would make Buescher top 5, but there is no top 5 odds out there. That would be the bet I would make.
Yeah, like I said, I got my Blaney bet in, and I'm fine with that. I like you said, there's no top 5s, top 10s out yet. We'll wait to get those, but I haven't really looked around. You said Busher was at 30. He's at 40 on 365.
Yeah. And like looking at Busher, just like we did with Chase Briscoe, like I'm going to go back through his races here. It's kind of weird that he's popping in my model because
he hasn't been that good here at Vegas at all.
Yeah, it's so weird. It's so weird. It's got to be a lot of the other stuff that's pulling him up outside of Vegas.
Mhm.
And let me check the other large ovals because I think that's got to be what's propping him up is the other large ovals. And so let me remove Vegas and Kansas. Wait, what is going on? Why can't I scroll down any further? I'm so confused. Let me refilter this. It's like not showing me Chris Busher with RFK. Like what? Let's try this again. Large oval. Like my scroll just isn't working. What is going on? All right, let me just reopen this file and see.
Tell you what, man. Hard Rock has Bubba at 50.
50 for Bubba? That's
50.
Insane. That's insane.
I know I'm not going to be able to get more than $1 down on it, but
yeah, I'll get my 20 or 25 bucks on it at Hard Rock, but
that just popped to me as I'm sitting here. As, you know, doesn't make sense.
Okay. Everything's fixed now. So actually, in the last 3 large oval races, which were Las Vegas, Kansas, and Michigan, Busher was twice in the 75th percentile, which is an elite because that's lap by lap, and one in the 63rd percentile. So that's really good. Like his heavily recently weighted data is very strong. Let me pull up. We always know Michigan is Michigan, but like, let me pull up Kansas too last year and see where he ranked relative to the field. Cause I mean, to me, that's pretty strong indicator. He's always been better at Kansas than Vegas too. That's one thing to consider.
Mm-hmm.
But I want to pull up that specific Kansas race. Chris Busher was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in adjusted speed at Kansas last year for the second Kansas race, the playoff Kansas race. So if you're running 6th and you're 40-1, that's pretty solid.
Yeah, I agree. I just bet Bubba. I couldn't pass up that 50. That is he's 20 everywhere else.
Yeah. I think it's so hard. What do you use as a comp? And I actually have a weighting system for comps. But it's like, here, let me pull up Michigan because I said, he just had an amazing Michigan race as well. What was he at Michigan in terms of just raw speed, adjusted speed? So largest. Yeah, he was 3rd at Michigan in adjusted flag speed.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're talking a guy who was 3rd and 6th in 2 of the last 3 races at large ovals, and I'll do the most recent Vegas race as well. So let me just pull up the most recent Vegas race, and he wasn't as good, but he was still solid, I think, if I remember correctly. Most recent Vegas race, Chris Busher was 12th. So 12th to 6th and a 3rd in terms of just speed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it makes sense that I like his top 5.
No, yeah. Plus, like I said, I think the Fords are the best on long runs. So I automatically in my head give them all a boost.
I agree with that. Man, this week's gonna be tough. Just from
It is.
like when we make our picks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, do you have anything else from Vegas before we do move on to our picks?
No, I really don't. I'm keeping it again. I'm keeping it conservative this week. Funny enough, I didn't make any post practice or qualifying bets for Phoenix. I made a couple live bets, but I didn't track them. Like, it was just my own personal live bets, and they're on Blaney and Bell live. So I was happy with my non-publicly tracked bets, just my personal bets. But I mean, it was pretty clear to me those were the two best cars. So I bet both of them at like 5-1 at various points live. So that was nice. And I also had both of them pre-race. So yay. Also, my two IndyCar bets were publicly tracked, were minus half a unit because I only made 2 quarter unit bets. But if you were in the Action Network Discord, I put a bunch of bets out there that literally all hit, aside from like one podium bet. They literally all hit every head-to-head, and half the podium bets hit. So the only reason I didn't track it was because it was literally only available at Bet365, and it was like 15 minutes before qualifying started or something like that. So it's just one of those things where it's like I didn't really feel right tracking it, even though I made those bets and I told people about it, because the fact it was only available at one book at the time with 15 minutes to go meant almost nobody could get it anyway. And I like to track things that people tend to be able to get.
Nope. That makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I was like you. I hit Buescher over Briscoe was my and Bell were my 2 pre-qualifying bets. I did not make any bets after qualifying.
Which is funny because normally I in a week I'm trying to be light. I think most of my stuff would come after practice and qualifying, but
yeah,
practice was weird. Like that first group had such an advantage in speed, and even my blended flags, like it's just not possible to blend that much, especially when Cindric was just like through the roof faster than everybody else in his own group, let alone how do you blend that, right?
No, that makes a lot of sense. But on to our picks. You get to go first this week since I hijacked yours last week.
Great.
But so yeah, you're first these next 2 weeks. Who is your pick to win Las Vegas? By the way, you had Bell the last 2 weeks. He finished 2nd and 3rd. Are you going to go with Bell again and have him go 3-2-1? I know you picked Bell a lot last year.
I did pick him a lot last year. I'm not picking Christopher Bell this week. I'm also not picking Kyle Larson this week.
Ooh.
I'm also not picking William Byron this week. Give me Tyler Reddick.
I didn't think you were going to go there. I don't know why. Tyler Reddick get his 4th win of the season. I don't hate it. Obviously, we talked about him a little bit before. I just bet his teammate, Bubba. But yeah, could definitely see him doing well here. I know, what was it, last spring he had a really fast car and he ended up wrecking, I think, or one of the races he ended up wrecking.
Yeah.
So Reddick should be strong this weekend. I hate doing this, but I think it's going to get a little wild. And give me Joey Logano. I know that probably is going to come out of left field for you, but I just have this weird hunch that Joey Logano,
there you go,
in the Pennzoil car, wins the Pennzoil 400 yet again.
Yep. There was a time there, man, when Penske was like so dominant in Vegas.
And like, obviously, I think Blaney's going to be really good this weekend. So to not jinx my bet, I'm going to pick his teammate to win it. And obviously, Barry won this race last year, which is basically a Penske car. So, yeah,
very weird circumstances. In very weird circumstances. But yeah,
give me Joey Logano. But no, Barry did run. Like, he had a great average running position.
Yeah, he was fine. It was just he wasn't a race winning car, but that's what happens. You get it, like, that's how
that's what can happen at Vegas. I mean, you remember when Bowman won his race, and I know I bet it when he won that, because I was like, Hendrick's so good here. Why are we not betting on Bowman?
I think he got that. Yeah, and Denny Hamlin said he lucked into his win or whatever, and then Bowman came out with those shirts.
Yep. All right, you got Reddick, I got Logano. We're not going for the favorites this week. We're not going for Larson. We're not going for we're accepting we're not going for Bell, accepting the possibility of chaos, or not chaos, but just unpredictability in Sin City. But moving on to 36 for 36, I'm about to give up. I'm not kidding. Oh no, did I misread that?
What?
Oh, did I just bet Bubba to win the championship and not the freaking race? Please don't tell me I missed that. I do that sometimes especially on Hard Rock. I do that on Hard Rock a lot. Okay, yeah, I bet I missed that. We're gonna.
Well, there you go.
Oh, it is. Damn it. It's under. Yeah. So that's what pisses me off. Under Hard Rock, the first thing that comes up is a championship, and then you have to go to other futures to get the actual race. So yeah, Bubba's priced correctly there at 20. So yeah, cancel everything I said. And yeah, that bet sucks. Dang it.
Yeah, it happens to us all. I can't say I've never done that.
I think I did it last year too, but I forget who it was. It was like on Briscoe or something. Like it ended up working out really well. I mean, it didn't, but it did. You know, it gave me something to root for. That's funny. Yeah, on to 36 for 36. Like I said, I might just give up at this point. Not really, but it's frustrating. Through 4 races, I have 51 points, which, I mean, you got 48 out of Ty Gibbs at Coda. That's how crazy ahead of me you are right now. I'm at 51. You're at 138 after you had Logano last week, who, you know, if he would have finished where he did, you'd be light years ahead of me.
But, oh God, I can't believe that. See, like, yeah, if he had finished third, where he basically ran all day, he would have had 23 for 31. So add 20 plus 28 points. There. You had like 51 points. So you ought to have 28 more points. And I'm at 137 because of the Ty Gibbs thing. Even though in the 36 group, I'm at 89. You add the 48 for Gibbs, that's 137. If you had added 28 to Joey Logano on 137, that would be 157, 165. I would be in 7th place, tied 7th place in the group. And of course, it would have bumped some others down. So I probably would be in 6th place in the group. Had Joey Logano not crash out and finish where he ran. Now, that's not how this goes, but you get the idea. I've been picking drivers running really well relative to where they do. And even if you look at Logano last year, right? Joey Logano last year, let me go to Racing Reference to find his full season points. His what do they call it? Non-playoff points or whatever, because of everything gets rescaled for the playoffs. Joey Logano had 969 divided by 36 is 27 points per race, 26.9. Let's say 27 points per race. And he just got how many at Phoenix?
23.
So he's only 4 points below his average last year. That's not horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stage points really saved me there.
Oh yeah, for sure. And yeah, like, I mean, it's, yeah. Yeah, what are you averaging through 4 races? You got 138 over 4, so you're averaging 34 and a half, which is, you know, tremendous pace, yeah. especially at the, you know, the drivers that you've picked. But
if I averaged the pace I'm on right now, that would be 1233 season long points, and I would have won the NASCAR championship last year. Kyle Larson had the most points last year with 1182 when you don't count for the fact that playoffs and all that stuff happened. So I would have finished almost a full race ahead of Kyle Larson.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Based off the pace I'm on right now.
Nice. All right, who's your pick for Vegas?
36 for 36. This is fucking hard, dude. This is fucking hard. Based off how bad he's run this year, I'm thinking of a driver. I don't know if you know who I'm thinking of.
I know who I'm going to pick, but I'm curious. I don't know.
This could backfire really badly if I pick him. It's funny because he's run badly.
Are you going to burn a top tier guy?
No, I don't think so. I think it's hard to burn a top tier guy when we don't know how this new Chevy body is going to go.
Mm-hmm. So that tells me it's a Chevy.
No, that's not what I said. I said I think it's hard to burn a top tier driver. When we don't know how this new Chevy body is going to go.
Yeah. Okay, gotcha.
I don't think we can burn any top tier driver, whether it's Blaney or Larson or whoever, right? Because I mean, what the Chevy's elite, but what if the Chevy's dog shit?
Yeah.
It's like you can't really burn a top tier pick, which is why I was gambling going with Logano last week, but he wasn't a top tier driver last year overall. He was mid pack, right? Like upper mid pack, but upper mid pack. I honestly don't know what I'm going to do here. Well, I know I can't use that guy. I think I would save the other guy for other races. Honestly, don't think I want to use Gregson. I think I want to use him at a drafting track. One name is really attracting me, and I hate it. I hate it. But this name is attracting me. No? I think Hocevar has a lot of potential at a lot of places. There's one name that's really pulling me. Kyle Busch.
You know what? I had him circled, and then I realized I used him already. So same page as you.
Right?
Yep. All right, Kyle Busch for you.
Wait, you didn't use Makota, did you? I thought you said you switched off Kyle Busch. Or no, you switched off Bowman to Kyle Busch.
Yep, I used him at Coda. My best race of the year. So, all right, you got Kyle Busch as home track.
I don't love it, but I don't love anything this week.
Nah, I'm with you there. Here's a good comment, though. I love this comment right here. With your help, with our help last week, he binked the big $5 contest. Took home almost $4,000.
Hell yeah. GG's.
Nice.
I lost money, but that's because most of what I'm playing is just qualifiers. So I pretty much only have to finish first or second to win money. Yeah. And even then I don't win money. I just win a ticket.
I doubled up in my $50 contest and I lost $9 in the mini max. So
I forgot to enter your contest this past weekend. I think it's the first weekend I forgot to do that.
Yeah, and then I didn't cash in mine or the Buddha Man.
Post practice and qualifying was weird for me. I didn't do like shit in terms of like bets, and I only entered a few. Like I think I only entered qualifiers and then like 5 or 10 lineups in the super big GPP. I wasn't trying to go hard this weekend. I think once I get more comfortable with where things are, again, and I mean, even just playing these past few weeks has been more than I've done in past years with DFS. Because you know me, I've mostly
it's hard to get back into
on the betting side of things, but
it's hard to get back into the grind of things when you're out.
It's not. DFS. It's really not. I'm not trying to overload it early because while I think there is edge early, I also think there's a lot of uncertainty early, and that both creates edge, but also in some ways anti-edge where if the uncertainty doesn't materialize itself, like it this past weekend, we were sitting there in the Action Discord looking at the standings, the live standings, for the big GPP. It was like the top 223 lineups. There was only 3 lineups for like the top 250. And so it's like 114 way split for first, 70 way split for second, 50 way split for third. And it's like, because they were all the chalk hit. Blaney, Bell. Yeah. I mean, who else was it that was Bubba? Like Bubba was over 40% chalk hit. Like all the fucking chalk hit outside of Logano wrecking, but at the time it was hitting. And it's like, so when the anti-chaos happens, it's horrendous for those of you, us, that are a little more contrarian. And especially early in the season when there could potentially be more uncertainty, but then there isn't. That hurts guys like me even more. So it's just, it's not the time and place yet for me to go really heavy on DFS. I've already played more DFS at this point this year than I did at this point last year. I'm not gonna say overall because I did play DFS last year, especially on like, the super speedways and stuff. But like this point this year compared to this point last year, I've played way more DFS. I just haven't played a lot of DFS.
No, and obviously I've played more DFS over the last few years than you have, but I've still taken quite a step back. But the amount of weeks that there is just uber chalk, I hate playing them because me, I'm not going to be heavy on chalk typically, especially when there's only like one guy. Like I'm going way underweight, and it just sucks because the weeks, that it hits, it sucks. Like give me just a normal week where there's no craziness, and I can actually fucking out strategize people, not just this super chalky like BK starting dead last this last week. Like you didn't want to take him, but you had to because even a 16th place finish gets him in the optimal. Like that's just that's how it works.
That plus the two expected dominators being the two expected dominators just sucks.
You got that too.
I hate when that happens. I love when it was like 2019, 2018, 2017 where it was like Harvick, Kyle Busch, and Truex would always dominate. But then I would have Logano on that like one slate where Logano would dominate over those guys. You were just fucking golden.
The amount of time I went back to my biggest days in DFS, and it was always either Blaney or Logano. It was always a Penske guy that I was contrarian that week and on them. And it was always literally like I want to say like 9 of my top 12 biggest DFS days are because of Penske.
A lot of mine were like I remember Chicagoland 2018 was Kyle Larson when he was in the Ganassi car. And before people caught on to how dominant he could be, I would have a lot of Kyle Larson dominating ones. But then my other big one was fading Kyle Larson because he started like dead last in the 600. And in the qualifiers, he was like 88% owned. And I'm like, I don't care if you start dead last in a 600-mile race on an oval. With Kyle Larson, who's a high variance driver, we know he gets into wrecks. Like, I was just game theory. Like, the only thing that matters is first place in a qualifier. Everybody's going to be on Kyle Larson. So I just didn't play Kyle Larson in either of my 2 or 3 or whatever it was lineups. And he wrecked like a quarter of the way through the race. And for the last 75% of the race, it's just like me and one other person contending for the qualifier. So I had like 2 of the 3 contending lineups. and I won it. So, but it was also way easier back then because people didn't have the theory as much back then and a lot more do now. But still, I hate the chalk when it hits. Hate it.
Agree. All right.
How do our DraftKings lineups do?
Yeah. First off, Paul Menard GOAT.
Agree.
So actually, my DraftKings lineup last week almost cashed. It was close. I ended up with 281.05. I had Blaney, Bell, Logano, Barry, Gibbs, and Nemechek. Oh, was it? No, never mind. Yeah, I'm done. Sorry. That was yours. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember I told you I had that one, and then I switched to my stupid ass one. Yeah, so yours almost cashed. 281.05. Mine ended up 241.35. Remember, I had Byron, Bell, Logano, Hocevar, Priest, and Nemechek. So, yeah, neither of us cashed, but yours was close. And mine wasn't dead last, so I'll take that for a way too early DraftKings pick, which, I think that needs to be clarified because a number of people that didn't understand it on Twitter. Our way too early DraftKings lineups happen before practice and qualifying, and we don't change them.
It's the whole point is it's way too early.
Yeah.
Well, you should wait until after qualifying. Well, no shit. You think we're stupid? The whole point is it's way too early. That's literally in the name.
Yeah.
Are you changing this? No, because it's way too early. This is our way too early lineup. You can't change a way too early lineup
please.
after practice and qualifying because that defeats the purpose of way too early.
Yeah, that's always funny.
Oh, God. People are so, like, they think we're the dumb ones. You need to wait for practice and qualifying. No, you're the dumb one. You don't understand the purpose. It's to have fun and do something silly early in the week.
Yeah, exactly.
What it really is, and people don't understand, is like it's our early thoughts on who we like. And a lot of times we'll analyze like qualifying and stuff. Like we'll try to figure out who isn't great at qualifying. And so that goes into it. But the whole idea is it's still way too early. And it's kind of a combination of like who we like with who we think might qualify poorly. Yeah. Or really well if they're elite, you know.
And one of my main points of doing this is to explain to people how important qualifying is, because I'd always see a bunch of articles early in the week like target these guys for DFS, and I'm like, you don't know who the fuck to target on a Wednesday. Like you might have an idea, but anything that can happen in the weekend could happen and just completely ruin your plans.
Which is funny because people are trying to explain that to us now, and they're missing the whole purpose that's the whole purpose of this segment is we get that, and we're trying to show you why it's so fucking hard.
Yeah.
To do this way too early.
Exactly. But 36 for 36, I was leaning toward Gregson. First off, I'm going to be honest, and now I'm kind of against it. And then I was looking at Herbst, who, by the way, finished 17th and 19th here last season. But that was more luck than anything. If you remember, that car was awful. Whatever race I went to one of the Vegas races last year. I think it was the first one. He was like awful. But I'm going to go with a guy who over the last 3 races here has 2 podium finishes. Over the last 7 races here has only 1 finish worse than 16th. And that was a 20th last fall, who's now on a team that qualified on the pole here last season. Give me number 7, Daniel Suarez.
Wow. Again, I don't hate it. I can't hate it.
I'm getting I am saving my studs for the end of the year, and I'm going to make the comeback of the year.
But so am I. I've only used 1 stud. Joey Logano.
I know. Don't say that, Nick. Nick, don't remind me. Don't remind me.
Like, are we counting Kyle Busch as a stud these days? I don't think so.
Absolutely not. And like I said, I'm a big Kyle Busch fan. But he's not.
I mean, I use Suarez,
I'm going Daniel Suarez.
And Suarez, Herbst, and Ty Gibbs before that. Before Logano this past weekend.
You need to use Hocevar soon so you can just get the people that you hate out of the way.
It's pretty funny. Yeah, I do need to use Hocevar. My 36 for 36 for IndyCar this weekend is Kyle Kirkwood.
There we go. I'm betting on Kirkwood. I don't care if he opens up at 4-1. I'm betting on him. I need an IndyCar bet in my life.
You do, and you need a reason to watch the race.
Exactly. Fun stuff. All right, you got anything else this week?
I don't think so. Darlington next. So like another just and then Martinsville and then Bristol. Like I said, once we get through Bristol, we'll have kind of hit most of the gamut of track types. Because, Kansas is Vegas, and Talladega we've done, Texas, and Glen, and Charlotte. So, we'll pretty much kind of know where things stand-ish after Bristol, I would think. Because we'll have almost one of everything. But yeah, it's tough to say. Darlington is so different from Vegas. It's not, but it is. It's an intermediate, but it's going to be in the low downforce and high horsepower package now. And then Martinsville's Martinsville, Bristol's Bristol.
Darlington, I mean, hell, if Reddick goes out and wins this one, like you picked, I mean, he's going to win 5 of the first 6, right? I can envision this already.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it might. Oh God, I wonder what happens with the Chevys at Darlington.
Yep.
Is it intermediate? Is it low downforce, high horsepower package that hurts them? Because we've already seen it kind of hurting them so far in the shorter, flatter tracks. There's still a lot to unpack here in the next handful of weeks.
Absolutely.
And then we hit the point in the season where everything changes, right, Jordan? We talk about this every year. Race 10 to 13, somewhere in that. Yep, 10 to 13 in there. It's like things shift.
It's a good thing about NASCAR is it always keeps you on your toes.
Oh, yeah.
For sure. All right. Well, that's all I got this week. We'll talk next week with Darlington.
Absolutely, man. I'm excited for this weekend. I'm excited for Darlington. I have no idea. Like, obviously, I have to give picks for running hot. And my running hot picks were literally my only picks I had for Phoenix. That might be the case again this weekend. We'll see. I might even have fewer picks for running hot than I did last week for Phoenix. I don't know. I don't know how it'll play out, but I just don't. I don't know. If I had, like I said, if I had to make one bet early in the week and I don't, and the odds aren't out, I feel like my bet would be Chris Buescher top 5 or top 10. I feel like that would be my bet that I would make right now.
So Caesars has driver finishing position numbers up, and they got Buescher at 12.5.
No. That's about right.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything super egregious here. Also, they're only offering under.
Yeah, that's even worse. That's stupid. Why would you not offer over under?
Right? Because they have Zilish at 14.5. Give me the over.
Holy over smash. Damn.
They have Allmendinger at 15.5. I'd go over there as well.
I actually was considering Allmendinger, not gonna lie, for 36 for 36, and that's why I was like, no, I can't use him. Obviously, I'm using him elsewhere. I was kind of talking through the commentary of that, but I forget where it was, but I was looking at one of these metrics, and I was like, oh man, do I have to really consider Allmendinger? Yeah, dude, he is 15th in track quality rating and 16th in track speed rating over weighted recent history at Vegas.
Allmendinger is?
Mm-hmm. In speed. Like, I'm not talking finishes. I'm talking how fast were you?
I guess he's better here than I thought he was.
Last year, he finished 8th at Vegas and 19th.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't race here in 2024 at all.
Before that, he was 21st, 18th, and 9th. So 2 top 10s and 5 next-gen starts. 6th in stage 1 last year as well.
Yeah, and let's be real, in 2023, I mean, that's a while ago, but that was the worst of the years for Allmendinger at Vegas. That's still not bad, but like you said, 9th in 2022. And those are finishing positions, but I kind of want to pull up speed now. Just like straight up, what is Allmendinger's speed?
While you're doing that, can we talk about these awful ass odds? Winner of stage 1 wins race, -160, yes, on Caesars. Winner of stage 2 wins race, -160, yes.
That's stupid.
That is, and then winner of stage 1 and 2 wins race, yes, +500. God,
all right. So in the next gen era, Allmendinger has raced at Vegas 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, like we said. His average per lap ranking is 54.4 percentile, which is in the top half of the field, which 36 cars this weekend would put him around 14th or 15th. And if you recency weight it, again, like I said, that actually bumps it up because his 2 most recent ones, which are last year's 2 Vegas races, averaged 61.5 percentile. So legitimately, we can't discount Dinger. And that's why I was saying in 36 for 36, I literally crossed over him and I was like, huh? No, I'm using him elsewhere. He might be a top half driver this weekend. It all depends on the Chevys too, of course. But if things were identical to last year, he would be a top half driver.
Another one that I'm keeping my eye on for top 10 odds.
Yeah, I think we have to.
Mm-hmm. For sure. All right. Anything else for you?
No, all I'd say is I can't believe we're ending the podcast on AJ Allmendinger.
All right. Go Kyle Kirkwood. There we go. We're not doing that.
Yes, exactly. Go Kyle Kirkwood.
Hell yeah. All right. Good luck to everybody this weekend at Las Vegas. We will be back to talk Darlington next week. We're already on race number 5 of the 2026 season.
We'll be a 7th of the way through the season after this, almost.
Shoo. Going quick already. But good luck, everybody. Talk to you next week.
Later, kids.